Hello, everyone. My name is Phil, and I'm a doctor who likes to play board games. In a recent video that I did with the Digital Board Gamer, we talked about 10 games that we would love to see implemented on Board Game Arena. This was a very fun video, and I encourage you to check those out, as it includes 5 of my games at the top of my list that I thought would work well on Board Game Arena and that I'd be excited to see. In this video, I'm going to go over 5 more games that I feel like would be an excellent experience on Board Game Arena. To recap some of the points that I made in that video, uh, when I consider a game that I would like to see on Board Game Arena, I'm not only thinking of games that I would love, because I would just list the top 10 favorite games of all time that aren't on BGA and just add them to the platform. I thought about games that I think digital implementation would help in terms of playing it, as well as making like longer games feel a little bit shorter to play, easier setup and take down because it's all virtual, making sure that you capture a lot of different rules well, things like that. In addition, like having a game that mechanically would play well on Board Game Arena is important to me. So, games, for example, like Earth, which is on Board Game Arena, and I really enjoy playing it, but the turn based asynchronous experience might be difficult sometimes because of the simultaneous play, where a minor action might need to be taken on your account and can really make the game feel slow because you're not just taking your entire turn on your turn when it's your turn. So, in addition to all of that, I mentioned in the video that there were a couple of games, 10 games, all the way back in 2022. So 4 years ago, I made this list with Jacob, actually. And it was really interesting to go back and write down the games that we had hoped for. And so out of that list, and I'll just name them or show them on the screen here for you. I have a couple that that we both mentioned that are on Board Game Arena as far as I know. So Point Salad, Tiny Towns, Concordia, Glass Road, and Barrage. So 5 of those games are on Board Game Arena currently. I think Point Salad was in and out. I think it's back. Brass is, on forums, people have said that it will come to Board Game Arena very soon. So both Lancashire and Birmingham. So I'm very excited for that. I think Paladins is also in the works, but that has been kind of said for a long time now. So Clank has a digital app for it as well. I think Role Player does as well, and so does Concordia. So I would say that all of these games, except for Lord of the Rings: The Living Card Game, has some sort of digital implementation planned or already out there. So it looks like we pretty much nailed it with this list. So it took 4 years for some of these games that we really liked back then to finally come to a digital platform for us to enjoy. So, moving forward, I want to talk about 5 more games that I think I would personally really enjoy and play a lot of if it was on Board Game Arena. So, the first game on this list is going to be Rolling Realms. This is a Jamie Stegmaier Stonemaier game where it's a pretty lightweight flip or roll and write game, rather. But the catch is that this game originally was based off of different Stonemaier games where you have a random collection of 3 different cards with different mechanisms or abilities that are altered for the roll and write platform. And these mechanisms are based off of different games, and you are essentially gaining resources and turning them in for points. And the really cool thing about this game is that it's expanded into other games outside of the Stonemaier collection. So all of your favorite games, might have either an official or unofficial module for this game. Now, as I was doing research for these episodes, I found out that Rolling Realms does have an app version that is solely excluded to tablets like the iPad. And so that's why I left it off of the original list. And looking at Stonemeyer's website, it looks like they do have plans eventually to bring Rolling Realms to Board Game Arena. However, I wonder if they would take the wingspan approach of having Rolling Realms be limited to the base game and not including some of the other games outside of Stonemeyer's collection as modules available for the game. Now, I think it would be really fun, and this is the wishful thinking, to have like Rolling Realms Redo or Redux be available on Board Game Arena, and even having the opportunity for unofficial variants, which wouldn't think would happen because one, they're not play tested, and two, probably the rights to have like those games represented aren't there. But I essentially would want this game on Board Game Arena because it is a pretty straightforward, and the simultaneous aspect of this game would work well on the platform for turn-based specifically. But I would want it on there for the chance to be able to play some of the other modules in addition to the base game Stonemeyer ones that are available in the base box. And so, yeah, so I think Rolling Realms would be a really fun addition to Board Game Arena. The next game on my list is Mosaic, A Story of Civilization. So this civilization themed game has a lot of the same mechanisms as games like Ark Nova when it comes to a large deck of individualized cards with icon collection. But you do have a map, a centralized map, in which you are vying for area majority with intermittent scoring, and the tableau building as far as increasing your income tracks and acquiring specialized powers as you go along is, and building wonders, things like that, and techs, racing for objectives essentially is what this game is all about. So it's a really fun game, but one of the drawbacks that I see is setting up this game. I think it's really hard to set up this game correctly with all of the different good tiles that you have to place onto the board, and having to flip them over. And so having this be on a digital platform like Board Game Arena would really help out with the setup aspect of this game. And other than that, I think it would work well as a turn-based system. And I think there is a lot of good deep strategy that this game provides that would make it very replayable strategically, and for tournaments and things like that on Board Game Arena. I don't think any of the what the companies, Forbidden Island, I think, is who publishes this. I don't think they have any games that are on Board Game Arena currently, so that's one reason why I lifted off of my first list. But this would be a really cool game to have. It's one that I enjoy playing in person and would just love to play a little bit more to understand better. My third game on this list is Lisboa. I consider this as my representative to have other Lacerda games on Board Game Arena. I know currently none of them are, but Lisboa is probably my favorite Lacerda game. Similar reasons as Mosaic. These bigger Lacerda games sometimes are harder to set up. They have a lot of different rules, little rules that you have to keep track of. And so having a digital platform keep track of those rules and bookkeeping for you is really excellent. There are probably easier games to code than Lisboa with all the different cards that you have in that game. I know, and also, for example, that Kanban is playable, I believe, on Yucata. And if not, it was available back on the French website that I used to play on, 6 years ago. But in any case, it would be really cool to have some of these heavier Lacerda games be on Board Game Arena. I know that Mercado de Lisboa is on Board Game Arena, so there is a chance that Eagle Gryphon would be able to release some of these heavier games. A lot of them, a lot of Lacerda designs have been released for a long time now. They're very popular, and so I think a lot of people would really enjoy having these games be on Board Game Arena. So hopefully it's just a matter of time before they start popping out. But if I had to choose one, it would be Lisboa. My second to last game is going to be Sweetlands. I think Sweetlands is a fantastic game. Recently, I had a play of this in person where I lost pretty badly. And I think a good mark, or at least a mark of a good game, or at least a game that you really like and care about, is how badly you might feel after you lose a game. And so, and I mean, I wouldn't say that I felt bad, but I was really thinking about what I could have done better afterwards. And so, such a pensive game such as Sweetlands is, I think, very deserving of a digital platform to bring together people to really dive deeper into the strategic game. Mechanically, it has a lot of similarities with games like Terra Mystica. I would even add Hallertau with the worker placement and card play. But there are other games, more popular games, of course. I think Terraforming Mars was an inspiration for this game. And so it's got, I think it would work really well. You just basically take an action and activate, certain combos on your turn as you see fit. All of that can be done on your turn independently of what other players do. And so it would be a pretty easy game, I think. Well, it's not easy to code, but it would be relatively easy to code, I think. You just have to account for all the different cards, which I think can be done, if they can do it with Arc Nova. But yeah, so Sweetlands, it's this is my pick because it's a heavy game that would work well on Board Game Arena, and I think it's a game that should be more popular than it is. I think if a lot more people had exposure to it, especially on a popular digital platform such as Board Game Arena, then the pursuit for this game in person, I think, would go up. But I digress. I think Sweetlands would be such an amazing addition to Board Game Arena. And finally, to round out this list, of course, is another Rosenberg. I originally had Black Forest as my pick for the main video. I didn't choose it because I didn't think it had as better of a chance as the other game I chose. But in my heart of hearts, I think I would want and would probably see Black Forest come out, aside from this other game, ahead of some of my other favorite Rosenbergs like Newsfeared or Oranienburger Canal or just Canal. I think Black Forest would be easier to implement than those other two games, and especially because we already have Glass Road on Board Game Arena, and so resource tracking and the resource wheel has already been implemented, and so I think the other aspects of this game would be pretty easy to do. And yeah, I would just love to really play this game more. I think it's got a lot of similarities to the most game played game that I have on Board Game Arena and just personally, which is Glass Road. And so having the quote unquote second edition of this game on the platform would be amazing and something that I would really dedicate a lot of time to. So my number one choice is, of course, a Rosenberg, and that is Black Forest. So thanks for checking out 5 more games that I hope for on Board Game Arena. Let me know what your top 5 games are in the comments below. Which games would you like to see on Board Game Arena? Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you schedule an appointment with me real soon. Take care.